Hi everybody, welcome to one of my quilting chat videos. My name is Amy. I'm Amy. I go by Fiber Arts Amy here and on Instagram. Pardon my voice, it's a little scratchy. I'm filming this on July 1st, 2023, and we've been having smoke from the fires down in the areas where we've been for the last several days, and it's really affecting my throat. My throat's really scratchy. So I have a lot of quilting stuff that's been building up that I wanted to share. So I'm going to try to put some of that together today. I am trying to clean up one of my son's bedrooms, and he has a mountain. My dog is like climbing on top of the mountain of quilts over here. He has a bunch of quilts that have just been like thrown on the floor. So I need to fold them and put them away properly. So I thought I would take the opportunity to show you some of the quilts that are in his room. This is not all of them. He was recently sick, and so we washed a bunch of quilts. And they're still being cycled through the laundry. I also have a ton of haul to show you guys. And I don't usually have much quilting haul because I don't often go into a shop. At this point, I usually just order things online that I actually need, or that have like really caught my eye. Certain designers I'm likely to buy a new collection from, like Tilda or Tulip Pink, but I do most of that online. But recently I was able to go into some shops. So anyway, I have a ton of haul to show you. And then after I do those things, I'll move and I'll show you some of the projects that I've been working on. Similar to my floss tube videos, I'm not going to be trying in these quilting videos to show you guys like every single thing I put my hands on, because I work on sometimes, 2 or 3 different things in a day. I work on a lot. So I'm not going to try to like smush all that in, and the videos would get ridiculously long. I'm just going to try to like hit some of the highlights of the things that I've been working on. So first off, to show you some of the quilts in my son's room. Freya, can you move? Try to show you Freya. She's on the mountain. Oh, and for those of you who are also stitchers, this is where Undine lives, Mermaid Undine from Mirabilia. I've shown that in another video. Okay, Freya, I need a quote. So this first one is very small. So what this was, we call this a giant lovey. So when my kids were little, they got like basically like washcloth sized blankets that they could like snuggle with. When they're babies, there's like rules because of SIDS about what can be in their cribs and whatnot and at what age. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all of that, but they really like that. And as they got older, they still sleep with those. They still love them. Logan had, I had this charm pack, I guess, of batiks. I don't usually buy a lot of batiks. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Just reminded me I don't have something I want to show you, but that's okay. I can get it for later in the video. So Logan really likes batiks, and so he asked me if I could just make him a giant lovey. Now he's getting a little bit older, and he can just kind of snuggle with it. And if he's in a situation where he wants to take a blanket with him, like if we're traveling or something, but it's not really practical to take a whole quilt or real blanket with him, he can take this giant lovey with him. And I had this like camping themed fabric. We're kind of like baby outdoorsy family. My background's in environmental science and chemistry, so I love the outdoors, but we don't have a ton of experience with like backpacking and stuff, but we are very enthusiastic outdoor campers, backyard campers. So we do a lot of like backyard camping and whatnot. So there's his giant lovey. My son also loves these, like, obviously not a quilt, but these like kind of cheap polyester, he calls them velvet blankets. I'm going to use those later to teach him how to fold a blanket for like the 8th time, right? Maybe one day it'll stick. This was a blanket, well, it's a quilt. I'm not in the camp that gets like super offended when somebody calls a quilt a blanket. I call them blankets. But this was just a cheater cloth quilt that I made. This was in like relatively early days of quilting. These were just flannels, I think from like Joann's. One of my kids needed a simple blanket for preschool. And Logan loved this. He's the one who used this the most. It was just cheater cloth. I just put, you know, backing, batting, and the front together. Stitch them on the lines. Sorry, there's like glare. Stitch them, you know, as if I was stitching in the ditch, if this had been a piece top. And wrote his name on the back with Pigma pen. I think it's still there. I don't want you to see the full name, but it's still there. So this was what he took with him or had with him at preschool back in the day when they did nap time. So really simple. I've talked about it before. I do a lot of very simple quilts for my kids, especially if there's like, well, I'll show you when we get to it. Hopefully it's up here. Like if there's like characters or something where it's something that's kind of like a fad or a fan boy or girl kind of quilt. So this, I fell in love with this line of fabric. These are the Bazoople Friends. So this is a book panel, but I got this quilt pattern out of a magazine years ago, probably 15 years ago, back in sort of my earliest days of quilting. And I went ahead and bought the quilt kit to go with it. I just think I love this line. I love stripes and like ticking stripes. So for this, you basically are sewing the book panel into a quilt. It's not huge, like it's a good crib size quilt. I put really thin batting in it. I did quilt it myself, mostly stitch in the ditch and kind of some, you know, I put some X's and where there would be a cornerstone. If this quilt had cornerstones, I did some X's through the book panels. It was really simple quilting. Has more of the fabric on the back. I did this for Liam, for my oldest. And he just never got into it. Liam had a lot more quilts. Liam got a lot more handmade stuff that was like ready for him when he was born because he was my first. So when I was pregnant with him, my time was my own. I was working, but like, right, I didn't have to take care of anybody. So he had like stuff ready. Like his birth sampler was done other than his birth date before he was born. He had quilts done. I had a diaper bag made that matched the quilt. Like I had like everything. The others not so much. So this quilt Liam really never used. He never got interested in it, never really used it. So I loved it. So I was like, fine, it's going to Logan. So when Logan came along, Logan got the Bazoople Friends quilt. Logan has a lot of not very big quilts, like not covering the whole bed quilts. He needs some bigger quilts. He has some, but he's somebody who likes having like 20 blankets on him. So I'm working on rectifying that. Hopefully it won't take me forever. Anyway, I'm working on rectifying it. So this is a quilt that Logan and I made together. It's like not quite twin size. I don't know how big it is. It can't be, I used a standard width fabric as the backing. I kind of made it as, well, you know, and as the background. So it's probably like 42 inches wide. There's a hanging sleeve on it because we did put it in the quilt show. I just used this really cute, like Camelot themed fabric as the back. So I used to belong to a quilt guild, and the quilt guild used to have, well, they still have a quilt show, I think, but they had a category that was quilts that its members had made with kids, with like kids in their lives. So it didn't have to be your kid or your grandkid. You know, it could be anyone that you, like young, that you're teaching to quilt. So there was, Liam had entered, there's still threads hanging. My oldest has entered 2 quilts. Logan and I, this is the only one that Logan entered. I want to say Logan was like 4 when we did this. And I've talked before about how, in order to be able to quilt, especially with little kids in the house, it's not quite the same now, sort of is. If I have to pause, I apologize. I do have children running around and whatnot. Anyway, sorry if you can hear them. And now they're coming in. In order to, I can hear one of them telling the others to be quiet. In order to quilt myself, I needed to find ways to do it with my kids. So Logan and I made this quilt together. What we did was I found this pattern for a shark quilt, and the pattern had all these different shark shapes. Like, there's a lot of them, and I think they're all different, but I'm sorry for the noise. So they had all these different shark shapes, and in the original quilt they were arranged. I don't know if they were arranged in the shape of a shark or in the shape of, like, kids, go downstairs. I'm trying to read and Logan's coming in my eye. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm trying to film a video. Go downstairs. Liam, if you want to be in your room, close your door. Okay. So I didn't worry about arranging them in that shape. What I did was, how did I do this? How did I do the quilting? I see. So what I did was I traced all the shark shapes onto, like, Wonder Under or whatever fusible web I happen to have around. And Logan chose, I had scrap bin, and I used to make a lot of, like, quick and easy quilts, you know, with, like, Thomas the Train, like that kind of stuff. I had him pick through my scrap bin. Oh, and lots of pillowcases. I used to make, like, lots of pillowcases. Anyway, had him go through my scrap bin and pick out fabrics that he wanted to use. So this one's, like, trucks. This one's tools. There's train tracks. Trains. Trains were big in my family. Oh, Logan also loved, like, diggers and construction equipment and stuff. Trains. Dinosaurs. Berenstain Bears. Love Berenstain Bears. They're gonna make an appearance later too. This one's actually a repro that he liked. Repro print. So I had him just go through and pick fabrics and match up which shark he wanted with which fabric, and I fused them and cut them out, and then I laid this out, and I laid it out. Well, I laid this out. I laid the front out, and then Logan, like, on the floor, because I work on the floor. I do not have, like, a nice quilting area. Do everything on the floor. And Logan arranged all the sharks where he wanted them, and I fused them down. And then he sat at the sewing machine with me. So I actually basted it together. I quilted it as I was stitching these down. It's fusible applique, but I did a blanket stitch, like a really small blanket stitch around the edge of each dinosaur, and that also, each shark, and that also served as the quilting. So one thing that my kids used to do so that I could get sewing time, and they loved doing it, I did get nervous about their fingers near the needle, more so with some children than others, but I would work the fabric, and they would work the foot pedal. So I would put the foot pedal up on the table. They all went through phases of thinking this was the coolest thing in the world. Put the foot pedal up on the table, and they would press down, and we'd get really good and really coordinated with me telling them when to start and when to stop. And they even, like, you know, we'd talk about it and they'd learn why I was telling them when to stop and, you know, that sort of thing. And we got good at following instructions about how slow or how fast to go. So that's how we made this quilt together. And then it looks like I did just some swirls. Oh my goodness, I'm amazing. Sorry, I'm just realizing as I look at this, because these days I have most of my quilts long arm. I actually quilted some words into this. It says chomp, splash. In some of these more open spaces, it looks like I quilted a lot of the word chomp and splash. That's kind of cool. What does this say? I don't even know which way's up. Chomp. That's another chomp, I think. Hey, that's cool. I didn't remember doing that. Oh, crunch. There's some crunch in here. That's not morbid or anything. Anyway, that's the story of his short quilt. And this got, like I said, we entered it in to my guild's show. So actually each of my sons have like ribbons from quilt shows. But yeah, Logan was like 4, and obviously it wasn't made entirely on his own. It was never represented as having been done, you know, on his own. It was like a team effort, something we did together. Okay, this is, I feel like this is my secret quilting weapon. This is my favorite quilt pattern to make for a kid who's in a twin bed. In terms of like quick and easy, but still beautiful. And I've made this quilt several times now and love the way it turns out. It's perfect. So all this is a jelly roll sewn together. I used all the strips in a jelly roll. And then you need about 2.5 yards of fabric. You can make this part as wide as you want it. I feel like I don't know. I don't know how wide I made mine. This here, you can make it very long. You can just cut length of fabric in half to get it as long as your jelly rolls are when sewn together. So anyway, you sew the jelly rolls together and then you just sew a long border on each side. The reason I love this so much, aside from being quick and easy, when you lay it on the bed, basically these stripes are as wide as a twin mattress. It makes it very easy to like teach your kids how to make their own bed. Because you can see very, like visually, it's obvious when the quilt is laying where it should be laying on the bed. So that's all this is jelly roll, and I just stitched in the ditch through the jelly roll. This one's like 30s repro style. And it's a blue gingham on either end. I just stitched stripes that are about 2 inches apart to kind of mimic the jelly roll stripes. Used a 30s repro looking wide back. I almost always use wide backs on the back. 30s repro green binding, and it was done. Very, very, very easy. And like I said, it just, it's easy, but I feel like it still looks really good. And it also gives your kids the opportunity to pick out, well, I do a lot of that. I let my kids pick out what they want. So like we can go into a quilt store and I can say, okay, you can pick a jelly roll and one fabric to go with the jelly roll, and boom, we got a quilt. So yeah, that's my like go-to, my kids need a quilt. This I made before I think I'd ever taken a quilting class. It's super simple. It's fabric from like a big box store. It's got owls on it. When I started teaching myself to quilt, of course I was like, okay, big pieces are the way to go. So like use probably like an 18-inch square. Use really big pieces, and I quilted this myself. I did this in large part to like try to do, you're not gonna be able to see it, but there's like ovals quilted into this. All this is like a big panel in the middle with border and these cornerstones. That's all it is. But I practiced quilting with it. And it's a really big, good utilitarian quilt. It fits on my son's bed really well. It's big enough for that. So nothing like fancy at all. That was, I made this one back when we lived in South Carolina. And that was, I didn't take a quilting class until we moved to Florida. I'm actually quite proud of this, given that I'd never taken a class before. Okay, so this is the sort of thing I do when my kids get really into a video game or something. This is not big, but this is, there's Link from, oh my, I'm gonna blank. My husband's gonna kill me. And you're all shouting it at me. Legend of Zelda. There's Link from Legend of Zelda. Logan loved the fabric, so I just bought some at, I think our Michael's, or it used to be Pat Catan's. I added, sometimes I just do thick stripes of like a novelty print like that, but this time I had some of these like scraps or small cuts of batiks, and I thought the green and the pink went well, so I just added a green stripe at the top, green and pink stripes at the top and bottom, and then just quilted it with simple lines. I had Logan pick out a backing from Stash. He picked this leaf print, and this is kind of like one of those extra layers to keep your feet warm, or just something to snuggle up with kind of quilts. It's not fancy, didn't take a lot of work, but it made my kid really happy. I feel like that's kind of part of my quilting philosophy, if I had one too. A lot of people, I've known a lot of people who kind of stress about making this like perfect quilt for their child, which I totally get, because I want my kids to have heirloom quilts too. And I'll show you, one of them I wish I could show you today. I can't because I know it's dirty. Logan does have some of those. He does have some of those like quilts I cared a lot about. Even though it's still pretty simple, that Bazooples quilt I care a lot about. I hope that lives on forever. But in terms of like making my kids happy in the moment and like day by day, he's just as happy with his Legend of Zelda quilt as with anything else. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. This is a Quillo, which I'm not going to take the time to fold up for you. Some of you are probably familiar with it. If you're not, you can Google Quillo. They're very easy to make. So again, like I said, Logan in particular loved dinosaurs. So I have this dinosaur print. I don't know. I think I probably had this orange from a Halloween project or Halloween costume kind of situation. So I just used dinosaur fabric on front, the orange on the back, and then if you're not familiar with a Quillo is a quilt you can fold up and turn into a pillow. So it's got a pocket on the back. So when you're not using it, if you want to, you can fold it up and you tuck the whole quilt right into the pocket and it becomes a throw pillow. I did quilt all of this on my own, not very well. That's okay. And this was like a quick and easy thing. And the great thing about that pocket is it becomes a pocket for your feet if you're using it as an actual quilt, which is really lovely. I have a Quillo I made myself out of Tula Pink fabric at our cabin. But anyway, this makes him super happy, right? It's not an heirloom quality quilt. It's not a bunch of fancy piecing and applique and whatnot, but it makes him really happy. So, and then, so for each of my kids, there was like a quilt that in my mind was like their baby quilt. the one that I made specifically for them and that I care about and put a lot of thought or effort or whatever into. And so for Logan, this was it, which is still a pretty simple quilt. I don't remember if I got this as an actual pattern or if I adapted it from something. I feel like it's probably an actual pattern, but I can't guarantee that because even early on in my quilting days, I had a tendency to like make changes. But all this is, right, is one simple, basically giant applique piece on the background. But to me, this is kind of the perfect size. It's probably about 36 inches square. Perfect size for a baby quilt, the sort of quilt you're actually going to put on them once they're allowed to have a blanket in their crib. And I love it. I did it out of like Civil War Repro. I don't know, because I wanted to. I think, I haven't really thought about it before, but I think for like those more like heirloom kind of quilts, I love kids like juvenile prints and stuff. They can be so cute, but I think I'm less likely to use those for something that I want to stay around forever. Because I think like those cartoon character kind of things are less likely to age well, maybe? I don't know. But this is what I made him. And once he was able to have a crib or a blanket in his crib, this is what he used. And this is what he slept under actually for years. Each of my kids, before they were 2, had moved to, we never did the toddler bed thing, they had moved to a twin size mattress on the floor. And I say before they were 2 because we needed the crib for the next baby. Each of my kids is born like exactly 2 years apart. So we needed them out of that crib in time for the next child. So they each spent a good bit of time sleeping on a mattress on the floor. Because they weren't really ready for a bed yet. And anyway, and I was going to buy like, we were trying to do this without spending tons of money for things that you're not going to use for very long. Anyway, for a long time, that mattress on the floor just had stuffed animals and this blanket, and this is what he'd sleep under at night. It's a perfect size, lasted a long time, and he'll still toss this on top just to make his bed look nice. And the backing on it is, this is one of those fabrics he picked for one of his sharks. So those are his quilts. I'm going to show you 2 pillow, oh my gosh. Now I'm looking at it. There's like some other quilts that are usually in here. They must be downstairs and dirty. I made Logan a rag quilt out of this flannel. I'll show that to you another time. But it just is squares of these 2 winter flannel fabrics. And I had some leftover squares, so I sewed him this like kind of like bolster pillow. And this is so dirty. This is a book pillow that goes with the Bazooples fabric. So I bought enough of the fabric to also sew the actual book as a book. We don't know where the book is right now. I think it's probably, my son has a stuffed animal beanbag chair, and it's probably buried in there somewhere. But this pillow has seen a lot. It's been washed, it's been mended, it's been, it's pretty dirty. Like, not like actively dirty, but like it's faded, it's stained, it's been through the wars. He keeps tiny stuffed animals in here now. So I mentioned the stuffed animal beanbag chair. Logan, each of my children has basically a cube. I can't really pick it up to show you. I'm looking at it. They each have a cube. If I think about it, one of my future videos, I'll get it in line with the viewfinder so you can see it. I basically sewed them a giant cube. It's like 25 to 30 inches on each, side of the cube. And there's a zipper on one side, and that's where I have them shove all their stuffed animals that aren't like actively in use. So anyway, that's probably where the book is. Something else I wanted to show you, I guess I can talk about it now because she has it. So I am a big fan of the Happy Little Stitch Shop. I'll try to remember to link them in this video. Angela, who runs the shop, she does usually 2 live YouTubes a week. I'm taking threads off as I go. She does usually 2 live YouTubes a week. And one's usually like cross-stitch focused and the other one's quilting focused. And she has a Stitching with Lori club. It's like a Lori Holt fan club. I've mentioned before, I'm not like, I don't consider myself like a Lori Holt groupie. Like some people are like really into it and really like Lori Holt can do no wrong. I am more of like a Lori Holt fan. I like a lot of what she does. I enjoy her books. I enjoy her fabric. But I'm not quite in that group. But anyway, I love being part of the club because I do get to geek out about a designer that I really can enjoy. And my kids love her stuff. So again, it's one of those places, because she does a lot of pictorial blocks. It's one of those areas where I get to do more of it if I'm doing it with my kids or with my family. Anyway, we, this past year, the Stitching with Lori Club made a quilt for Lori Holt, and Logan wanted to help me with it. What we did was a bunch of us each agreed to make a 6-inch block from one of her books out of her fabrics and send it off, and a couple members of the group volunteered to assemble the quilt and quilt it, and then it was gifted to Lori Holt. She went this past year, the Happy Little Stitch Shop Stitching with Lori Club held a retreat that I could not go to, but a number of people did go to and had a blast. It sounded like an amazing time. I'll try to link these things below in case you're interested in them, but anyway, Lori Holt was at the retreat, I think, for a day or 2. So they gifted her the quilt at the retreat. So anyway, so Logan and I actually took a weekend, a mother-son weekend at our cabin, and I let Logan pick whatever block he wanted out of Lori Holt's books to make for Lori Holt. And we made 2 of them. And Logan picked all the fabrics, picked how he wanted everything done. So we made 1 block for Lori and 1 block for Logan. So this is how he picked a scarecrow block. Sorry, I do have some threads there. This is how our scarecrow block turned out. And then I put a border around it to make it fit into this pillow. So Logan likes to sew sometimes. He likes to cross stitch. He likes to sew. He's not as obsessive about it, at least not yet, as I am, but he does like to do it. So Logan had practiced sewing himself like we worked together to sew this 9-patch out of this fabric. He loves chickens. So I think this fabric's by Sweetwater. Is that right? I think that's right. He sewed this 9-patch, and we decided to use that as the backing for this. I used a fabric, again, from Sweetwater, and he's got a nice little pillow that he uses a lot. So this video is going to be long. Okay, so that's kind of my son's room, or what's in my son's room right now. Now I want to talk to you about haul. I need to do this because I need to put the stuff away. So a few weeks ago, I went down to North Carolina, to Charlotte, to meet Maggie Kitschy Whips here and on Instagram. For those of you who came from my floss tubes, you probably know I'm throwing a Mirabilia themed retreat with Maggie in a few months. And so I drove down to actually meet Maggie and to actually see the venue and to do a lot of planning and like bag stuff, like goodie bag stuffing and all that kind of thing. So on the way back home, I visited some quilt shops. I don't think I have anything in here that says the name of the quilt shop. I will try to remember to link this quilt shop below though. So I found this, that's not the right, is it? This says In Stitches, but I don't know if that's the right, it might be called In Stitches. I'll look it up. Anyway, This quilt shop in West Virginia blew my mind. It's in some like random town in the middle of nowhere. They had a small cross stitch section, and I did pick up, even though this isn't my cross stitch video, I did pick up these 2 patterns. She actually gave them to me for free. I told her I loved her shop. She just has like a small sampling of like old cross stitch patterns. She said it's mostly like stash that other people have brought in and asked her to get rid of for them. Her shop blew me away. She has no online presence, but this shop was amazing. It was huge, and it was so full. I loved the way it was organized. It was easy to find things. It was just so fun. I had so much fun in the shop. My favorite find was she had Berenstain Bears fabric. Okay, so this line came out years ago, and I am a huge Berenstain Bears fan. Like classic Berenstain Bears. The books written by the original husband and wife, Stan and Jan, are my favorites. I don't know if Jan has passed away at this point, but I know after Stan passed away, some of the sons got involved and kept writing books that are a little bit different. But I love like classic Berenstain Bears. She had a ton of Berenstain Bears fabric. Sitting in the clearance section. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I just bought, I think, like at least 3 yards of each of these big prints. I can always find coordinating stuff to go with them. I have a diaper bag made out of one of these. I love Berenstain Bears. Oh, I do have a receipt. All right, let's see. It's just called the Quilt Shop in Summersville, West Virginia. And I'll try to remember to link that. The Quilt Shop in Summersville, West Virginia. It was fantastic. I just picked up some small cuts of some fabrics that I liked. Really thinking a lot about my English paper piecing too, because I've gotten so much more into English paper piecing in recent years. But I like 30s repros. Okay, anyway. Gotta find a good way to do this. This is definitely not a 30s repro, but I think could look good as a background for something. I find like purples are kind of hard to find, so I got that. Ducks. Flowers. Flowers and birds. I was definitely in a bright, cheery mood that day. I just left Maggie. I also have a hard time well, pink is not my favorite color, so again, when I find one that I love, I pick it up. And this is certainly not a 30s repro, but I really liked it. So I got a lot of fabric there. And then I just went to Buffalo to visit my parents. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have seen, like, I put up a picture from May to the Mist. We took the kids and did Niagara Falls and all of that. I don't even know where to start. They have this amazing quilt shop. I want to say it's called the Patchwork Garden. It's in East Amherst, New York. If I find a receipt, I'll double check that. And I will link it below. Also, fantastic quilt shop. It's in an old house. It's 2 stories, and it's wonderful. It's like one of those places where you find all these phenomenal little hidden gems in all the nooks and crannies. So I've become much more interested lately in using like not your standard quilting fabrics, especially in bags and also in quilts and in English paper piecing, and doing something a little bit different. So I bought some toweling that will probably get cut up and used in various ways. But I got this toweling, this, and this one's more like red, white, and blue. I got what I need to make one of these bucket bags. They had them kitted up. I really liked the blue and green stripe, and they had the extra material packs that you need. So I'm going to tuck that in here while I'm talking so I don't lose track of it, because that's like classic me. To know that I bought specialty material for something and I don't know where it went. So I have those to make. I bought a little bit of yardage of a few things. I think these bubbles will be so cute. They're supposed to be bubbles. It was from like a pirate line. I think these will be so cute. Maybe to fussy cut for English paper piecing. You can even pick which sort of colors you're going for. I loved the fish scales. I thought those were really pretty. I might already have some of this, but also great for fussy cutting. I was specifically looking for some background pieces for some things. Okay, here we go. Patchwork Garden in Amherst, East Amherst, New York is the name of the shop. This background, I don't know. I have some ideas. I have an English paper piecing project going on with kind of scrappy backgrounds, and I think I might use some of this for that. These two I bought specifically to use as background for a project I was working on while I was visiting. And hopefully, if I remember, I will be showing you that later on in this video. So Sue Daly, I don't even know if they make these anymore. I used to pick some up here and there. I love them. Sue Daly does a lot of quilts that are kind of a mix of English paper piecing and applique. And she put out these great little kits that have everything in them. They've got templates. To be honest with you, I don't usually use template. I usually stick the fabric using a little bit of glue to stick the paper piece to the fabric and just cut around with about a 3/8 inch seam, and that's what I do. But anyway, it has the templates. It's got all the paper pieces, and they had several of these that I haven't seen. I just haven't seen these around a lot lately. I don't think a lot of quilt shops are carrying them. So I picked up these two kits. Just add fabric. They had this fabric on clearance. I actually thought my daughter would want it, and she said she didn't. So I said, fine, I will keep it. I also think this will be fun to fussy cut. It's like all these different ribbons and trims. I'm guessing it's digitally printed. I guess I could be wrong on that. I'm not a fabric manufacturer. But again, this will be fun to fussy cut and focus on whichever part you want. I will try very hard to remember to show you later, but I haven't done a lot with batiks. And I have a quilt pattern from a magazine that I want to do with batiks. It's strawberries. It's just a big old strawberry quilt. And you need whites, greens, and reds. And so I started my, okay, let's get the whites out of there for now. I started my sort of collection of batiks for this quilt. So I'll need more than this, especially of like the reds and pinks for the strawberries. But anyway, I got started collecting what I'll need. And then I picked up, I don't know if I'll use all batiks for backgrounds. I don't know that I'm going to get these to show up. I don't know a good way to, oh, that helps. I'm not going to go through them all. They're just all different batiks. And I might combine them with just some plain whites or some like mottled neutral, like even like grunge kind of stuff. I don't know. Okay, what else? I bought these two books, and I don't know how to do this yet. Some of you, if you've done this, let me know. So I bought these two books. This book I bought for a very specific quilt, and I bought the materials, some of the materials to make it. Here, it's on the back. They had a model of this hedgehog quilt. Let me show you the whole thing. Hanging in the shop, and it was adorable. It was so cute. And I love trying new things. I love trying new techniques and whatnot. Now, it's just made out of squares, although it's got a button for the eye, and my daughter was like completely enamored with a little button eye. I could easily piece this with just squares. That's like not a problem. But apparently, this is 10 Sisters. This designer has this product that's this like grid. I'm not gonna be able to see it again. It's just a grid. I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to use it yet, but it's a type of interfacing that will make your piecing absolutely perfect. My piecing's not perfect, and my quilts still come together just fine, so I don't know that I need it. But I'm interested in just trying the technique and seeing if I like it, and just new experience, something else to learn. So I bought enough of the grid to make the that hedgehog quilt. And I'm sure I say this, I've got to imagine I'm right, that you can make these, like, there's enough information in here to make these quilts without using their grid, if you want to. I'm trying to see if they have, like, a big picture of it. I don't want to give away secret instructions. I don't know that they do. Oh, here we go. There we go. Hedgehog. And they sell the grid in different sizes, so you can make the quilt smaller or larger depending on what size squares you're using. So I'm going to make it bigger. So it'll be like a lap quilt for the couch. I bought this. I love this. I think I'm going to use this as a background for something. Maybe mixed in with something else. I bought all they had of it. They didn't have a lot left on the bolts. It's all like old like labels. Like all old like medicine bottle labels and writing and stuff. I love that. I think that's awesome. So I got that. I'm almost done. I got this panel, which I couldn't resist because it looks like there's embroidery on it. So I got this panel, and what does it say in the middle? It says, birds of a feather, stitch friendships together. And it's got all these sections, like I said, that look like embroidery, which I think are beautiful, and like quilt blocks on the corner. And I thought I bought a fat quarter bundle that goes with this, I think goes with this. And I might, or what I think I'll do is just leave I'll probably just leave this as is and use the fat quarter bundle to stitch some blocks to go around the outside to just finish it into a lap quilt. Almost done, almost done. Okay. I got some of this. So this fabric it's being blown out. You get, so it's like stripes of different prints. I don't know how to show you the other side. Oh, it's really blowing out. But you get, these all I thought would look good as like scrappy backgrounds, and it just gives me some yardage to play with for some things. I got little, what look like embroidered pumpkins, which I love. Embroidered birds' nests and bird houses. Sorry, that's getting blown out, guys. Is that gonna help? Which I thought were cute. This is a different, this is the same sort of thing where you get, it's just gonna get blown out. So it's like there's, I think, 5 different fabrics that run length of, or 5 different prints that run length of fabric. So you can get a yard and you end up with like 5 different prints that you can work with for backgrounds. The older I get, the more I like scrappy quilting. This is the same thing. You'll be able to see it better here. So there's 5 different prints running length of fabric, and you could use it for like borders if you wanted to, or it's just a way to get, you know, a number of different fabrics. My piles are going to start falling over. And then this like cheater type print. How could I resist? Isn't that beautiful? Make pillows or bags or something with that. I don't know. I had fun. I had so much fun. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up and then probably eat lunch and do a bunch of things, and then I will come back and share some of the stuff that I've actually been working on. Bye. Okay, I'm back. Again, I apologize if you can hear my children running around upstairs. I want to start by showing you one quilt that I don't think I got to show you when I did like my first video, my first quilting video, because I think it was in the wash. Anyway, this is just a simple tumbling block quilt. I love this quilt. So what I did was I just used a layer cake. Oh, my dog is nose punching my tripod. Can you lay down, please? Can you lay down? I'm sorry, there's stuff on your bed. Can you lay down? Anyway, I just want to show it because I really like it. I've made a quilt like this a couple times. Really enjoy doing it. I just have like a giant tumbling block template, which I think there's several you can get. I know Missouri Star Quilt Company has one. I feel like Lori Holt might have one, or Fat Quarter Shop or something. I just used a layer cake because they make these giant tumbling block templates that are sized to like make the most use of a layer cake as you can. And then I have, so this is one of my favorite fabrics of all time. It's gonna be hard to see. I believe it's O'Reilly Blake. It has lines to make it look like a wooden board. I just love it. It's like the perfect ratio of like background interest going on to me. So anyway, I used that to get enough tumbling blocks to make a good size lap quilt. And it's probably like 60 by 60 or something. But I really like this one. It lives in our library. Hey, just wanted to share. Oh, I was going to mention about washing. It came to my attention relatively recently that some people don't wash their quilts. And I have to admit, I'm kind of freaked out. It was like a relatively well-known designer was talking about their recent surprise when one of their customers showed them a quilt that had been washed and how great it looked. And they talked about how they never wash quilts. And I've heard some other shop owners and well-known quilters talk about how they never wash their quilts. And I totally understand not washing certain quilts, especially if you're in the industry, like especially if, you know, it's a quilt for show or it's a sample or, I get that. But they specifically were discussing not washing quilts that are used. And that like totally freaks me out. My quilts get washed all the time. They're on people's beds, they're on our couches, they get thrown on the floor. You know, kids get sick in them. Like, and I don't even mean like, just, you know, if they've been really germy, you don't want that to keep sleeping in that and transferring germs around. You want to wash it and get it clean and fresh. Our quilts get washed all the time. So, I don't know, if you're somebody who never washes your quilts, tell me. And I'm not talking about like a wall quilt or like a quilt that's just display purposes. I get not washing that. I don't understand not washing quilts that get used. Like that would freak me out. I'm interested what y'all have to say about that. And if any of you are like in the non-washing camp, tell me why. Like is there like a reasoning behind it? I realize the quilt will maybe not fade as fast and whatnot. I just can't imagine making one that I wasn't gonna wash. Okay, so this is my Hexie Trip Around the World quilt. slowly coming along. I don't remember where this was the last time I showed you. I think this is a new round that I've added on, and I just need to finish sewing these. What I do is I attach all of them first, all the way around, and then I go back through and sew up the seams in between each hexie. So I just need to finish sewing up those seams, and then I can add the next round on, and I have the next round cut out already. So I need to make some progress there. This is, you know, a very long-term project, but I'm pretty pleased at how much I've gotten done this year. So this, you may have seen on Instagram if you follow me there. I finished my Lone Star quilt. So I started this quilt more than a dozen years ago because it was before my oldest was born. It was a class I took at my quilt shop, and when we packed up to move away from Florida, I had that entire center done. So I had the Lone Star done, and this is all done with like traditional machine piecing. You can do these English paper piecing if I ever do one again. That's how I will do it, because I can't say that I particularly enjoyed this process, but I'm very proud of this quilt. It's got these Drunkard's Path kind of curved piecing borders, the stars in the corner. So everything up to this border was done. What wasn't done is these the Drunkard's Path borders. So the color part, I had all four sides assembled but not attached. And then I needed to finish assembling and attach the corner units, which are from the seam up. There was so little that had to be done. Everything was cut. Actually, even all the Drunkard's Path blocks that still needed to be, all of the curved seams that still needed to be sewn were even pinned. Pins had lived in this sucker for more than a dozen years. With no rusting. I'm very lucky. So anyway, I'm done. I wish I could show more of it at a time. It's so good. I love it. So I took this class at Once Upon a Quilt in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I used to live. That's the quilt shop where I learned how to quilt. And I love this quilt. Absolutely love it. Taught it as a class, like I said, and I'm thrilled that it's done. It does need a final press. Those corner units need to be pressed, but I will do that right before I take it to the long armor. The long armor I use has 2 of my quilts right now, and when she's done with those, this will be the next one to go in. I try to have at least 1 quilt to take in whenever I'm picking some up, especially because I have such a backlog of old quilts that I'm trying to finish up. But this one's been bothering me for a while that it's not done, so I'm very, very happy. I love the fabrics I chose. This wasn't from a kit. I picked my own fabrics. I'm just very happy. And I'm excited to see it completely done. I didn't even look at what you guys are looking at. This is my kitchen. My messy, messy kitchen. Cross stitch. We have lays hanging on our chandelier. Applique quilt. I turned off this light because it was causing like a huge glare. Hopefully the light's okay. I have made some progress on my Tulip Pink English paper piecing quilt that I'm working on. So there are 4 rows of diamonds to make this quilt. So the top row is done. The second row is done, and they're offset from each other. So there's these half diamonds on the edge of every other row. And so that's the second row. Oh, get it up there. And then the third row, I'm more than halfway done with. I've got 4 of the 7 I don't know if you can hear me with my face behind the quilt. I've got 4 of the 7 diamonds attached to the 3rd row. So it's coming. It'll get done one day, hopefully soon. I would love to have it done by the end of the year. Realistically, I doubt that's going to happen. But I don't know. A girl can dream. We'll see. I get less sort of focused crafting time in the summer because my kids are around all the time. So we'll see. And I just realized I forgot to grab the pattern for the strawberry quilt I was talking about, so I'll show that to you guys next time. I am signed up for Fat Quarter Shop's Mystery Designer Block of the Month. That's really blowing out. I have gotten block 1 so far. Now, I don't know that I've ever even started a block of the month in the year that it's sent to me. I'm so bad about that. This showed up in the mail. The timing must have just been perfect. It showed up in the mail, and I was making dinner, but like there wasn't a lot I needed to do to make dinner. Like it was like I got it in the oven and it just had to let it go. And got it in my head to go ahead and try to do this block. So I cut it and sewed it. I think I had to finish it the next day or later that night. And this still needs a good press and I need to trim threads off of, but I am so proud of myself. I have finished block 1 of a block of the month before block 2 has gotten to me. I can't even believe it. And then I was so excited about this that I actually went back to the previous year's block of the month and started that one. Which I'm not going to show you today because I don't even have any of the blocks put together. I started block 1, started assembling block 1, and realized I had missed a couple of pieces I needed to cut, so I need to go back and do some more cutting. But I'm very excited, and I'm going to see if I can actually keep up with this block of the month and maybe also work on last year's block of the month at the same time and get it done. Now, the way I managed to do this so fast, because I've told you guys before, like, so I don't have like tons of space. I don't have a dedicated sewing room. So to set up my ironing space, and then I have to worry about the kids running into the ironing board and all that, to sit and sew and then get up and iron and then go back and sew and then get up and iron and get sew and, well, not iron but press and all that. Not right now, okay, Maddie? Thanks. I'm almost done. That keeps me from sewing a lot on the machine. I made this block all by finger pressing. I didn't do any pressing with the iron. And I feel like it worked so beautifully. I think I'm going to do that from now on, at least when I can. Now, I still need to actually use the iron to press the block now that it's complete. But, yeah, I did the whole thing by just finger pressing. So, like, I sewed all the, you know, the units, like 2 squares together, and then I just finger pressed them all, quick and easy, at my sewing machine, you know, without even getting up, and then sewed them into their 4-patch units, and that's how I did all of it. And I don't know why I didn't think of doing that sooner, but I think that's how I'm going to get a lot more sewing done, because there's just a lot less I have to do to accomplish something if I can finger press and keep going. So anyway, very happy with that. What I'm going to work on today, so this is one of these extremely old projects that I just want to see done. This is going to be a very simple quilt. I have like 55 or something of these blocks that look just like this. And then I also have the same block but with the colors flipped. So where it has the the creamy color in the middle and the green, so the green is where the cream is and the cream is where the green is on the other set. But the other set, I need to sew the borders on. I just have the center squares in these, and I actually need to cut I have strip sets where it's green with cream on each end. I need to cut. So I'm going to set up my cutting station when I'm done filming and try to get a lot of cutting done so that then I can go in and sew. I sewed most of these together in the last couple of weeks. This is fabric from Joann's. That's partly how I can tell it's from my earliest quilting days, because I tend not to buy their fabric anymore, but I like this enough, I want to finish it. I don't want to just scrap the whole thing. I think I might give it to my son. Excuse me. I was saying earlier that he needs, I have notifications, he needs some more quilts that are bigger. Or I might give him one of the other quilts from my husband's in my room and keep this one for our bedroom. I don't know. But anyway, I need to cut and assemble the other blocks that are the opposite of this. And then once I've done that, it's just sewing them all together. And I've pressed these. These are all ready to go. The quilt's just simple. It's just alternating blocks. So I've got that. And I had posted on Instagram and somebody asked to see, and this is an English paper piecing thing I've been working on. So I showed you earlier in the video this background and this background that I bought at the quilt shop this past weekend. I have been, I had taken this to my daughter's riding lessons and stuff. I was cutting out all of these. I had like a 30s Repro mini jelly roll, like it was just 20 strips. And I think this one was put together by a shop. I don't think it was, well, it might not have been, but I don't think it was all one fabric line, because it's got like Bella Solids in there mixed in. But these were some 30s Repros. I cut up the jelly roll into these, I'll show you they're going to be these 7-petaled flowers. I don't know if you can see that real well. 7-petaled flowers, and then they'll be appliqued to the background. So last night I was gluing some of those pieces to the paper. And I honestly, it doesn't say in the pack, so I don't know exactly how big these flowers are going to be after I've sewn them together. Once I know that, I'll decide what size square I want to applique them onto. Just trying to show you some of the fabrics. They're all just these very small scale, kind of sweet 30s repros. And I thought I would use these and probably mix some other backgrounds in as well. Because I don't want just a plain white background. I wanted something with a little bit of movement to it. So that is it. I'm gonna cough, excuse me. Sorry. So plans. I don't know when I'm coming back, right? Like when I have time to film and I feel like I have stuff to show you, I will come back. It is a very busy summer around here with lots of travel, like little trips, right? Like here and there and camps and this and that, you know, visiting grandparents and that kind of thing. So I will come back when I can and when I feel like I have progress to show you. Since I do a lot of English paper piecing, progress is slow. I do have 2 quilts at the Long Armor right now, which hopefully I'll be getting back in the next couple of weeks and get those bound. I'll be dropping off the Lone Star quilt. If I get this one done in time, I'll also drop that one off. I'm sure I will keep working on my Tulip Pink quilt and the Trip Around the World quilts and other things just as they grab my interest. I do have a lot. I have a lot of quilts I've been working on. My quilting bug has been very strong lately. But if all I've done is like cut pieces out, I'm not going to just like show you squares of fabric that I've cut out and haven't started to piece yet. I hope you guys are having a good time with your craftiness, whether it's quilting or something else. If you are a quilter, I hope this helps inspire you a little bit. I love watching other people's quilting videos as well as floss tubes. My daughter is in here trying to distract me really hard. So I better end this. Thank you guys so much. Please leave your comments below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.